TUFF SHIFT. Hello, world, and welcome to TUFF SHIFT, the podcast where we unpack all that goes into surviving the job and living the dream. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Murtagh, and I am thrilled to be bringing this podcast to life and directly to you wherever you happen to be listening to it from. I have had the great privilege to perform on some of the best stages and on screen in San Francisco, New York, and now Los Angeles. I have also had great opportunity to wait tables and sling drinks in San Francisco, New York, and now Los Angeles. You see, I'm a stereotype. Oh, you know which one I'm talking about. That actor, waiter who's auditioning during the day, waiting tables at night, and praying for the big break that frees them from slinging hash. Now, for a large majority of us in the service industry, this stereotype is our reality. But your waiter is so much more than an aspiring actor. I've been doing this on and off for about 105 years now, and I can assure you, I have folded napkins with the best of them. Some of the most talented and accomplished people you will ever meet are the ones who are refilling your water and clearing your plates. Yes, successful, working, accomplished actors who are thriving in their career artistically, but maybe we have to supplement our career financially in between gigs. Now, this is not just limited to actors. If you are a singer, a dancer, a choreographer, a director, a visual artist, whatever kind of creative person, you know very well the flexibility that working in the hospitality restaurant industry has to offer. And it also offers you a chance at some pretty decent and relatively quick cash. And I just want to clarify that I said quick cash, not easy cash, because there is not much easy about this job. And that's what we do between gigs. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. But I don't want to over romanticize any of this regarding survival jobs. As many benefits and perks as there are working in the world of restaurants and hospitality, there are just as many, if not more, setbacks, pitfalls, and unfortunately, some really humbling and humiliating moments. We all have a lifetime of tough shifts to talk about. And that's what we're going to do. Every week, I am going to invite and introduce you to my friends, my colleagues, my coworkers, and we are going to talk shop. We are going to exchange some war stories, serving on the first line of brunch shifts, in the trenches of dinner rush, and of course, the glorious world of side work. But that is not all we're going to talk about. I am going to show you just how amazing these people are, how talented and wonderful, creative, and accomplished they are. I'm going to give them the chance to share what they do, what they've created, and hopefully you will follow them. You will find a way to support these artists if it's something that resonates with you, if you want to know more about where they perform, what they create, and how you can experience their art for yourself. But before I introduce you to these amazing individuals, I thought maybe I should introduce you to myself, since you will be with me week after week. And I have so many things to share with you, so many experiences on stage, in the kitchen, waiting tables. And I don't want to overwhelm you with those stories, but I kind of want to entice you to come back and hear more of my experiences as I share and commiserate with my guests. So today I'm going to limit it to just two stories. I thought that it would be fun to share with you my most memorable celebrity encounter. Now, I have waited on a lot of celebrities. Mostly, I want to say 90% of these interactions have been absolutely wonderful. The rest haven't. But there is one that stands out as something I will carry with me in my heart forever. And I think you're going to get a real kick out of this story. But first, I wanted to let you know how I came to be a stereotype. How Shawnee Boy graduated from college and as an aspiring actor found his way into the world of restaurants and hospitality. My name is Sean Patrick Murtagh, and this is episode 1 of TUFF SHIFT. All right, so to understand how I ended up in this world of hospitality, where my first restaurant job, you need to understand how I booked a dream job straight out of college. Well, relatively right out of college. And it was surprising to me because my experience in college, there was good experiences for the most part, but my professors really didn't know what to do with me. I had this big leading man voice that they didn't think matched my body. I had a very mature look, so there was a lot of, you're going to work when you're 40. You're going to work consistently when you're 40. But what to do now? So upon graduating, I was like, well, if I'm not going to work till I'm 40, I'm not going to stay in Southern California for that. And I'm not going to go to New York. I had been to New York, I had visited and loved it, but it didn't feel like it was the right time or place for me to be again, especially if I'm not going to work for another 20 years. So I decided to go home back to the Bay Area and pursue a career in theater in San Francisco. At least, I would do whatever it takes, community theater, regional theater, just really work my way up. And most importantly, be near family and be in the place that I love the most, which is San Francisco. And I meant I was willing to take any opportunity. I was going to audition for anything, which included a very well known, established San Francisco institution of a show, which took place for over 40 years in North Beach. I'm not going to say the name of the show, but they had an open call, and I went to that open call and I sang my face off. The director asked me to sing it again, but he was calling out actors, people for me to do impersonations of as I sang that song. And the audience was loving me because this was an open call. So we all auditioned in front of everyone else who was auditioning. And I won that room over. People stood up and cheered for me. But then I didn't get a call back. They cut me right then and there. They had seen enough. So imagine my surprise a couple months later when I got a phone call offering me a job as an understudy in this show. And I was going to be paid enough money to move into the city with my friends and support my lifestyle. And the best part was that I wasn't going to have to be that stereotype. I wasn't going to have to wait tables as I found my way to my performing career. I was going to be working as an understudy, so I wasn't going to be on every night, but I was going to be making money and be able to pay for classes and continue my education and my training, just really incubating. And I was going to hold on to this job until I hit 40 and my career took off. But first things first, you got to sign the contract, right? So I head up to the city, to the offices, and I meet with the managing director, the company director, the big boss lady producer, and they offer me the contract. We go over it. They let me know what my health benefits are going to be, and they let me know what my 401k options are. I'm 21 and I already have a 401k and full health and dental. Yes, please sign me up. And after we got through all the logistics of what it was going to be coming into this show, they suggested that if I did not have a gym membership, I would probably be best suited to get one because it was a very athletic show, which required a lot of stamina. And just a little backstory for those of you who don't know, around that time, I was yo yoing between 250 and 285 pounds. So they strongly suggested that I got this gym membership, and not only for the athleticism of the show and the stamina, but because also all the men on stage all had a similar body type and look to them. And they just didn't want me to feel uncomfortable standing on stage next to them. How thoughtful, right? So I went and I got that gym membership, and I was working out 5 days a week right after every single rehearsal because why not? They're paying me to do this. I'll lose weight for them if that's what they want. Um, and so that's what I did. And because of my size at the time and the fact that they had never had a male actor in the show my size, they had to build brand new costumes for me. They couldn't pull anything from storage. Nothing was recycled, which was wonderful. I mean, recycling's good. Don't get me wrong. But I wasn't going to have some other actors, years. This show at that point was like 30 years old. Years of sweat and stink and stain all over costumes. It was going to be brand new. All the hats, because I also have a ginormous head and there's no workout to make this skull smaller. They had to make me all brand new hats. It was phenomenal. But along with making these costumes, they went ahead and took my measurements about every other rehearsal. So every other day, I was in the costume shop for them to take my measurements to see what my progress was like at the gym, and they could alter the costumes along the way. Also, every day, my lunch break in rehearsals, the big boss lady just happened to be upstairs in the green room. She didn't need to be there. She could have been in the office, but there she was, watching me eat my lunch and asking me, "Are you really going to eat that whole thing? Do you need that before you go back to rehearsal?" No, no, I guess not. I guess I can save the rest for dinner or in my car on the way home. What's your deal, lady? And then she would go back to flipping through her tabloids and pointing out all the celebrities that had gained weight and what a shame it was that they had let themselves go. And this continued until one day when my costumes and my hats were about 98% done. And all that was left was to put the last few numbers on their feet and rehearse me so I could make my debut in this show. But I got a phone call that I had to stop by the office to meet with everyone again before rehearsals. And I showed up at the office and found out that there weren't going to be any more rehearsals because I was being let go. They just felt, as talented as I was, and they kept reassuring me that my talent was amazing, my voice was amazing, and if they kept me there, they'd be keeping me from what I was really supposed to be doing. And since it wasn't a match, they were going to be so generous and let me go from this dream job. Oh, I was heartbroken. But if you know me, you know that I am not one to let grass grow under my feet. So, as heartbroken as I was, I set out for the next adventure. And then, first things first, is I need a job. So, I went down the next day to Max's Opera Cafe on Van Ness and Golden Gate. It is a restaurant where the waiters sing. It's right next to the opera house. And in between waiting tables, you get up with a live music director at a baby grand piano and you get to sing. So even though I wasn't performing at this dream job, I was going to be making a living singing for people in San Francisco 5 nights a week. And somehow that just really softened the blow of being fired. And then, not too long after getting that job at Max's, I ended up booking what would then become my official first professional show outside of college, a show in which I auditioned for, got cast in, rehearsed, opened, and closed, all without getting fired. And the universe gives with both hands, because I was let go from that job for my weight, and I ended up booking this show, which was Mac and Mabel at 42nd Street Moon. Wonderful theater company. They are still around in San Francisco. If you see they're doing shows, go see them. They produce some wonderful shows. But they hired me in Mac and Mabel to play the role of Fatty Arbuckle. Yep, that's just how it goes. That's showbiz, right? And unlike this other theater company based in North Beach, this theater company, the people at 42nd Street Moon were so amazing, really checking in with me to make sure that I knew that my weight was not just a bit in the show, and that I was a talented actor, and that's why I got the role, and that I'm not a bit. I'm a wonderful person, and they just kept checking in with me to make sure that I felt safe and comfortable doing this role. Wow. Wow. And that is how I kind of set myself on the way to balancing my career with my survival job. And to put a little bow on this story, a few months later, a young father and his son came into Max's, and the father stopped me. I wasn't their waiter. And he said, "I'm so sorry to bother you, but my son has a question for you." So I turned to the son and I said, "Oh, yeah, sure. How can I help you?" And the son said, "I saw Mac and Mabel with my mom, and I told my dad that you were Fatty Arbuckle, that I saw you on stage. Are you Fatty Arbuckle?" What? Stop the presses. I am in the middle of my survival job, in the middle of what was probably a tough shift, and I am being recognized for my work as an actor. Wow. Wow. I don't think they know just how much they made my day that day, and how I still carry that experience in my heart. But it did serve as some sort of a sign that whatever I was doing, regardless of what happened along the way, I was exactly where I needed to be, doing exactly what I needed to do to get my career off the ground. And that's how I ended up in restaurants, and that's how I ended up a walking, talking, singing stereotype. Hey there, just checking in. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. And if you are, why not leave us a 5-star review and a comment or two wherever you're listening to this from? And don't forget to follow us on social media at TUFF SHIFT Podcast. That's TUFF Shift Podcast. Everywhere, literally everywhere. And just a reminder, gratuity's not included, but tips are always welcome. And you can find our virtual tip jar at tuffshiftpodcast.com. That's TUFF Shift Podcast.com. All right, back to the show. All right, next I wanted to share with you a celebrity sighting like I have never experienced in my life. Now, if you don't know what I look like, if you're listening to this and don't know what I look like, just Google me. Pull up the podcast, look me up on Instagram, and just look at my face and tell me, who do I look like? I'll wait. Yeah, I look just like him. And nearly every day of my life, especially working in restaurants and interacting with so many people from all over, people stop and ask me if I know who I look like, or if anyone's ever told me that I look like you know who. And then one day, my manager, who loved to call me his name, came up to me and said, "You know who I tell you you always look like? Well, you're going to be waiting on him today." And I'm like, Jesus Christ, Haley, like, it's not even, 9 o'clock. Can you give me a break? Can you let me just fold napkins and set up my section without bothering me? This is gonna be a long, long brunch shift. And she just kept going, and I was like, all right, this is fine, whatever. And then she said, well, if you don't want to wait on him, you don't have to wait on him. I'll have somebody else wait on him. And I was like, wow, she's really, really going in to this bit that she's doing. Whatever. So I turned to her and I said, listen, Haley, if Robin Williams is coming to this restaurant and going to sit at my table, I will be the one serving him. All right? And I went back to work thinking she was full of shit. Well, 2 hours later, I walk up to table 61 and holy shit, it is Robin Williams looking at me, and he seemed just as taken back with me as I was with him, because yeah, we look a lot alike, and in person even more so. And there he was having brunch with his friend, the amazing, accomplished Broadway vet, Moises Kaufman. He is a playwright, he's a director, he does all things Broadway, and he's an amazing human being. And of course, him and Robin Williams are friends. And of course, they're sitting at my table. Holy shit, this is amazing. Now, the thing about Robin was he's a totally normal guy. We know him as larger than life and funny and always making quips and always, doing impressions, just all the voices. But he was not that, or I should say, not only that. He did not miss the opportunity for a punchline or to take to the stage during his brunch. For example, when they were asking me what I recommended, and I said, well, I think my favorite thing here is the chilaquiles. Now, I don't think he or Moises Kaufman, a native Spanish speaker, expected me to say chilaquiles as if I was a fluent native speaker. So that triggered Robin, who just kind of stood up and puffed his chest and repeated after me, chilaquiles, huevos rancheros, ¿quién es el más macho? And then went right back down to sitting normal and continuing his conversation with Moises. It was quite the experience to witness. And so, you want to make celebrities feel normal, not feel on the spot. Just relax. They're here to enjoy themselves. They're not here to entertain me. And I got through that entire meal. But before they left, I stopped them and I said, Robin, I want to thank you for coming in. And I just also wanted to share with you that there has not been a day in the past 15 years of my life. And as I'm saying this, you see him kind of tense up, probably just not sure where this story's going. So he wants to make sure he's grounded and has some boundaries established and ready for whatever I'm about to say. And so I see the shift in his body language. And I said, don't worry, it is not a sad story. I just wanted to say that there has not been a single day in the past 15 years of my life where someone hasn't stopped me and said, do you know you look like Robin Williams? Is Robin Williams your father? And I always reply, I honestly don't know the answer to that question. I'm from San Francisco. He's from San Francisco. The timeline works out. Robin jumps up and says, I don't remember a thing, and is waving his hands in the air. And I said, don't worry, college is already paid for. He flung open his arms and said, son. And then I asked him, I said, would it be all right if I got a picture with you? Because I know my dad would love to receive this text message. And he said, I'll tell you what, if I take a picture with you, I need you to take a picture of Moises and me. That way, I have pictures with both of my friends. What a guy, right? What an absolute charming, magical individual, and what an experience that I'm going to have with me for the rest of my life. Now, a few years later, Moises came back to Cook Shop. That's where all of this happened. And I happened to be his waiter. He was with some friends, and I was not sure where he was in his grieving process. So I didn't say anything. I greeted the table normally. I got them water. I got them drinks. I made my suggestions, took their order. And about halfway through the meal, Moises grabs my arm and says, "I'm not sure if you remember." And I stopped him and I said, "Oh, yes, Mr. Kaufman, I remember very well." And he looked at me and he said, "You know, that was the last time that I saw Robin." And we both had a moment of silence where we just looked at each other. And then went back to work. He was talking to his table. I was working my section. And then he stops me again. And he says, "You know, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but I happen to work a lot on Broadway." "Oh, Mr. Kaufman, I know exactly who you are, and I know exactly how quick I can get downstairs to get my resume and headshot out of my locker." I did not say that out loud, but I was thinking it and I was mapping it out. And he said, "You know, I'm always working on projects." I'm like, "Dear Lord, just offer me the job. Just offer me the job." And you know, with these projects, I'm always looking for talent that I really want to work with. And I'm like, "Got it. Headshot, resume, and my 2-week notice. I am ready to quit." And then he says, "So what I'm asking is if you wouldn't mind introducing me to that guy over there from Glee." I turn around, and it is Chris Colfer having dinner with a group of friends. Womp, womp. Well, that's our first episode, and I want to end this episode the way that I'm going to be ending every episode from here on out, and that is by giving a shout out to a special friend, a special coworker, someone who has made our lives in the restaurant industry a little better. I'll be asking my guests to give a shout out to one of their friends, one of their coworkers who made work enjoyable, doable, survivable, all of that. And since we're talking about my first job in the restaurant industry today at Max's Opera Cafe, I thought I would shout out my very, very first friend that I made in the restaurant, and that is Miss Mary. Now, Miss Mary did every job at Max's. She started off as a hostess. She was a waitress. She bartended. She managed. She opened new locations. She did everything. But her most important job was being the unofficial welcome wagon of Max's. So anytime somebody new came along, she was the one that took them under her wing and showed them the ropes. And for me, she became a dear friend. And every time I worked with her, I not only learned so much, but I laughed so much and really learned what hospitality is all about. It's not just memorizing the menu. It's not just memorizing cocktails. It's not just about not dropping food on people, but it's about an experience. It's about laughter and it's about coming together. And I feel that that has had a great impact on me in many other areas of my life. So, Mary, I love you. I adore you. And just know that you are still in my heart and always will be. All right, everybody. Until next time, just remember that tough shifts build character. And character is what brings your story to life. Have a good one. Tough Shift was created and hosted by Sean Patrick Murtagh. It was recorded on Riverside and distributed with Buzzsprout. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review and maybe a comment or two. And remember, tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life.